Hello everyone, I'm Kenshin. Welcome to History Talks. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Also, remember to turn on the notification bell. Thank you. Today's historical discussion is about Operation Paperclip, which caused the collapse of Nazi Germany's technology. As Russia's invasion of Ukraine continues to face setbacks and Western resources keep pouring in, it's evident that this war has become a situation where the West is encircling Russia. As the major supporter, the United States not only recently passed the Lend-Lease Act, opening the floodgates for military aid and financial support, last used crucially to overthrow Nazi Germany. This operation's significance is no less than that of the Lend-Lease Act. Amid Russia's mass issuance of 175,000 diplomatic passports, the U.S. White House, in a supplemental appropriation bill for Ukraine submitted to Congress on April 30, included provisions for Russian professionals applying for U.S. visas, requiring current employer affiliation. These professionals are mostly holders of doctoral degrees in STEM fields. This relaxation of visa restrictions aims to attract talent from Russia to the United States, thereby shrinking Putin's pool of talent and significantly weakening Russia's technological capabilities. However, this is not a novel approach. Today, I'll discuss Operation Paperclip, rarely mentioned during World War II. As many of you may know, Nazi Germany, which had been advancing smoothly, faced a drastic turn of events after setbacks in the Barbarossa campaign, its invasion of the Soviet Union. Consequently, in early 1943, some scientists, engineers, and technicians were recalled from the front lines to resume research work with the aim of bolstering Germany's domestic defense and its endurance in the prolonged war against the Soviet Union. However, the talents who were recalled need to be reassigned, and more importantly, whether their ideologies can be utilized. So, Werner Osenberg, an engineer and scientist at the National Defense Research Institute, compiled a list of politically purged individuals, later known as the Osenberg List, to enable them to resume scientific work. The exposure of this list was accidental. In March 1945, a Polish laboratory technician at the University of Bonn accidentally discovered fragments of the Osenberg List in a toilet. Subsequently, the list was sent to the renowned British intelligence agency MI6 and shared with the United States intelligence agencies. When U.S. Army Major Robert B. Staver, then responsible for jet propulsion research and intelligence at the U.S. Army Ordnance Corps, learned of this, he utilized the Osenberg List to compile a list of targeted German scientists. Among them, the prominent rocket scientist Wernher von Braun was at the top of Major Staver's list, as Chankson will elaborate on his significance later. The operation was named Operation Paperclip. After interviewing scientists and obtaining information, Major Staver changed the objective of the operation. On May 22, he telegraphed Colonel Joel Holmes at the Pentagon, urging German scientists and their families to evacuate, stating it as the most crucial effort for the Pacific War. In the Osenberg List, most engineers worked at the German Army Research Center on the Baltic coast, responsible for developing the V-2 rocket. After capturing these scientists, the Allies initially resettled them with their families in Landsberg, Bavaria, southern Germany. Starting on July 19, under Operation Paperclip, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, JCS, of the United States began managing the captured arc rocket scientists. Initially known as Operation Paperclip, the scientists' quarters gained local notoriety under the name Paperclip Camp, and were planned to be renamed Operation Paperclip in November. At the onset of the operation, the United States established the Combined Intelligence Objectives Subcommittee, CIOS. It provided intelligence on targets for the T-Forces, a joint British-American effort aimed at preventing the destruction of Nazi German technology during retreat. The focus was on scientific, military, and industrial facilities, and their employees, to obtain proprietary technology. The initial priority was advanced technology usable in the war against Japan, such as infrared, and identifying which technologies were transferred to Japan. Moreover, there was concern that German scientists might relocate to countries like Spain, Argentina, or Egypt, sympathetic to Nazi Germany. To mitigate these concerns, the CIOS was tasked with reconnaissance and the abduction of prominent figures to prevent technological advancement outside the United States. At that time, the United States concentrated its efforts in Saxony and Thuringia, but on July 1, 1945, it would become part of the Soviet occupation zone. Many German research facilities and personnel, especially those evacuated from the Berlin area, were relocated here. The United States was deeply concerned that Soviet control would restrict its ability to utilize German technological capabilities and was keen to prevent the Soviet Union from benefiting. Thus, they initiated the evacuation operation for the scientists and technicians in Saxony and Thuringia, issuing notices like these. According to military government orders, tomorrow at 1300 hours, which is June 22, 1945, Friday, you are to report to the town square in Bitterfeld with your family and luggage. Bring personal documents, jewelry, etc., but winter clothing is not necessary. You will be transported by motor vehicles to the nearest train station for onward travel to the west. Until 1947, the evacuation operation attracted approximately 1,800 technicians and scientists, along with 3,700 of their family members. Some scientists were gathered together as part of Operation Paperclip, while most were relocated to rural areas without research facilities or employment. Although they received allowances, they were required to report to police headquarters twice a week to prevent them from leaving opportunistically. John Kimber summarized that the United States had acquired some of Germany's finest talents within 3 years. As for notable figures, in May 1945, Herbert A. Wagner, the inventor of the HS-293 missile seized by the U.S. Navy, initially worked at various locations such as the Special Equipment Center for 2 years before moving to the Navy Air Station Woodbury Point in 1947. In August, Holger Toftoy, the head of the Rocket Division of the United States Army Ordnance Corps Research and Development Branch, offered an initial contract lasting 1 year to rocket scientists, with 127 people accepting. In September of that year, the first batch of 7 aerospace engineers arrived at the stronghold in Long Island, Boston Harbor, including Warner von Braun, William August Schulze, Eberhard Rees, Wilhelm Junget, and Walter Schwadecki. On June 1, 1949, the United States Army Ordnance Department designated the Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama, as the Ordnance Rocket Center for rocket development facilities. On April 1, 1950, as part of Operation Paperclip, including von Braun and over 130 members of the V-2 rocket team, they were transferred to the Redstone Arsenal. Between 1945 and 1952, the United States Air Force supported as many as 260 Operation Paperclip scientists, with 36 later returning to Germany, and Walter Schreiber resettling in Argentina. For those familiar with space exploration, the NASA Distinguished Service Medal is the highest award the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, can bestow. In 1969, 4 Operation Paperclip members received this medal: Kurt Heinrich Diebus, Eberhard Rees, Arthur Rudolph, and Wernher von Braun. Ernst Geissler received the medal in 1973. Finally, let's talk about why Wernher von Braun is listed at the top of the Staver Lieutenant Colonel's list. Primarily, it's because he was the main developer of the V-2 rocket at that time. His greatest and most famous contribution after moving to the United States was undoubtedly being the chief designer of the Saturn V launch vehicle, which made the human moon landing mission possible. This rocket stood at a towering height of 110.6 meters, making it the largest rocket in history and the tallest and heaviest launch vehicle ever used. As for the magnitude of impact if this U.S. bill passes, it would significantly diminish Russia's basic research capabilities. It's crucial to understand that all scientific research relies on fundamental research. With this foundation depleted, not only technological advancement but also a regression to pre-World War levels becomes possible. For the CCP, heavily reliant on Russia's military capabilities, collapse could be imminent.